Hi everyone, good afternoon. Hope everybody's staying warm. I know it's kind of like a windy and cloudy and cold day, but it's still nice out. We are in the spring, so this is what our spring looks like. Um, but so we are here for Ask the Expert this month, and we're excited. We have an organization here that we've been wanting to reach out for a little bit and learn more about what they do. So we have Eco El Paso, and I'm gonna let Joshua here. He is the president, right? Am I right?
Executive director.
Executive director. There we go. Of this organization. So I'm gonna let him introduce himself. But first of all, thank you so much for taking the time. I know it's Friday, but yeah, just thank you for joining us and sharing what Equal Paso is all about. So if you want to introduce yourself real quick, and then we'll start with the questions.
All right. Well, thank you for having me as a guest on this as the expert. And my name is Joshua Simmons. I'm the executive director with Eco El Paso. I am the first executive director for the organization. Started in late 2022, and then until today, we're increasing our presence and being more visible with our actions. A lot of the recent press that we've gotten has been from the Bowie tree planting event for our Million Trees El Paso initiative. So I'm very excited to be here and talk more about our organization.
Yeah, for sure. And we have questions about that. We have questions for you. But yeah, if you want to tell us what's Eco Paso, how it started, how it got formed, what kind of made you all like come up with this organization?
Sure, I can definitely give the backstory for Eco El Paso. So Eco El Paso started in 2009, and it was created in 2008, and it was started by a group of volunteers from different professional organizations, including the American Institute of Architects, U.S. Green Building Council, American Society of Heating, Refrigerating, and Air Conditioning Engineers, University of Texas at El Paso, and American Society of Interior Designers, and various other associations. So in 2009, Eco Paso became a 501c3, and that's where the journey began. And in 2010, they started with a goal of planting 2,010 trees, and that was their goal in 2010. And from since then, the organization has grown into different initiatives. And one of the ones that was kind of the flagship initiative for Eco Paso has been their annual conference. And so as a volunteer-driven nonprofit all those years, Eco Paso was able to be in many spaces, as well as being involved in the Paso Electric rate case a few years back, as well as establishing the Million Trees El Paso program that we'll talk about here soon. But the general mission for Eco Paso is dedicated to fostering and learning an environment for sustainable systems and lifestyles while integrating workforce and economic development concepts. We do this by promoting eco-sensitive and energy-efficient community planning, building design, construction, and facility maintenance in El Paso's region to professionals in design, construction, renewable energy, and building maintenance industries. And the mission has grown with the involvement of the board members as they've come and gone over the years. And our most recent board consists of 10 members, and of those 10 members, their expertise is what really drives some of our initiatives. And you'll see with the new influence of our board members, we'll have a bigger growth in some of our initiatives and where we'll be working in the projects. Like I mentioned before, I'm the executive director, but we also have a board of directors, and the president of our board is Shelby Ruff. And then our vice president is Robert Garland. And then our current treasurer is Jesse Sanchez, and our secretary is Fernanda Lugo. And then all the other board members have involvement in our activities. Some of them lead individual projects on their own, which we'll have some more announcements, via our newsletter. So that's always a good place to keep up with what we're doing. And as always, I guess we'll kind of wrap up this question. A good place to learn about us is always our website. You can always go to ecoelpaso.org and learn about all our initiatives, everything that I mentioned here in this answering of this question, and more. So you can read and learn about what we're doing, all our programs, and then we also cite sources for where we're pulling some of our facts and data from. So you can use this as an educational tool as well, particularly like say, for example, our Million Trees initiative. And then if you have any questions outside of what we go over today, or like to learn more, you can always go to the website, find our contact information, and connect with us on all our socials. Ask us a question. We'd love to talk to you.
Yeah, and they're pretty active on their socials. I'm always watching their lives. But remember, we always have their contact information, so we'll have their website as well as their social media accounts up in the description of the video, right below the title. And if you have any burning questions right now, you can always send them through our comments section on the video. We'll be monitoring those as well. And I think like one important thing you mentioned, like you have, and I think that what makes Eco Paso not only unique, but important. I think oftentimes when we think about sustainability, environment, conservation, we think of specific areas of expertise or specific careers. And you guys have like through your board, you have like a variety of different careers or areas of expertise. It's not like everybody is, you know, environmental science or biology or just science in general. There's like different things here and there. And I think that shows our community how like it doesn't matter what your interest is. It doesn't matter what, you know, you are studying or what route you're going. Like you can always do something and you can always get involved and make a difference. So I think that's really, really great. They have a great website. So if you want to learn about who's part of Eco Paso, who's on the board, kind of what their backgrounds are, they are all in the website there. I know, so we kind of went through the organization, what you guys do, your mission. What I know you have tons of things going on. If we can go through some of your initiatives or projects going on, and then kind of we'll explain some of those. And then we have a couple questions about some of those. So I don't know.
We can go over those. Yeah, we can go through those. Like I said, I'm even using the website here, so we can kind of follow along if you want to go. But like I mentioned before, one of the primary flagship operations that Eco Paso undertook in the, you know, I guess in the tens, right? Because I just don't even know how to reference that decade, but in the 2010s era, they did the annual conference. And at that time, the makeup of the board was a lot of what you see on the website and what I had mentioned. There was a lot of architects and green architecture interests. So that's what they focused on. And again, it just shows as the growth came, we brought in engineers and people of other professional backgrounds. The event became more dynamic, and we included not only the board members' interests, but also their passions, and injected them in there. So we'll be looking to have another conference this year. We'll be doing it in the later part of the year, so look out for that announcement come this summer. And then we've had the conference, you know, going for all the years back. So this past year in 2021, we had our 14th annual conference, and we even held the conference ongoing during the pandemic. Where, thankfully, you know, with the use of virtual and streaming technologies, we were able to bring that to the public. Our events are focused on for the annual conference are focused on professionals and developing their professional development, as well as the conversations on to how to further implement sustainable practices and methods. But it's also a learning opportunity for the public. So invite the public to come in and join. If there are students that are interested, we encourage them to contact us, and we can help you get access into that. Because you know, as an educational nonprofit, we need to continuously provide that education, linkage and sources to information, as well as having the board members themselves and their professional expertise, you know, facing forward to the public so they can answer questions. And we've done that through a lot of our initiatives with using education as a primary component of our engagement. So for our annual conference, I think that pretty much sums it up. I'm very excited to have this year's to be planned and executed. So you'll hear more about that in our newsletter after the summer.
I was just about to ask, like, do we have a date? But I guess it's all a mystery still. So yeah, stay tuned. Sign up for their newsletters if you want to get the news about the annual conference. But we're excited that it's coming back this year.
Yeah, we're doing a lot of changes. We're gonna, with me as executive director, we're gonna have a little more certainty on some things because, having me in that position and full dedication is gonna help. So, you will hear about it, and I'll be reaching out to different platforms to talk about it. Which is something I'll have to hold off on, but we have a very exciting event coming up in April. We'll talk about soon. But I know this is gonna require a lot of time, and we're gonna go over our Million Trees El Paso initiative. So this was started in 2020. It was talked about in the years before and was finally able to get executed in 2020. And so we were initially just taking donations that we're getting from individual donations from the organization. And then we were, collectively grouping them up and then trying to execute on the mission of that program. And so good to mention as well, go to our website, you can learn all about it. So just a quick summary on what the program is. It's our tree planting program. And it is a program with the ambitious goal of planting 1 million trees in El Paso. So the goal is in the name, and it's a really huge, tall order, but it's something worthwhile and very beneficial to us all. And so we primarily started out in serving underserved communities throughout the El Paso region. And the goal was to restore the tree canopy cover and the area of land shaded by trees in the greater El Paso, Texas region, and reduce the heat island effect while creating numerous environmental and aesthetic beauties to our neighborhoods, to our parks, our schools. So one of the big, and we also have a counter on there, so you can go and check how our progress is going. For the first year, we broke 150. Of course, we know what happened in 2020. We were barely kicking off our spring engagement, and then we had the shutdown. So we took a break from that. We resumed in 2021. Every opportunity we could, we were trying to get a tree planting event in while trying to be safe. And we're outdoors, so it was, relatively easy to do so. And so, yeah, we got 150 that first year. So we've gone from 150 to now 762 as of today. And we have more tree planting events coming up, so that number will increase into the next month. So luckily this year we were able to get a large grant donation or a grant award from One Tree Planted. So thank you to One Tree Planted for allowing us to have this great comeback success, because it did take a while for everything to get back into the normal. And so with this, we got awarded this grant in late 2022, and we were executing it on the spring. And luckily, yes, because it's El Paso, we have earlier growing season, right? Or just the weather's more favorable. We started off in December, and we did our residential tree planting at that time. And we picked a underserved community, which is by the border freeway near the Riverside area. We'd already previously engaged that community with a previous AARP grant that we had gotten in the previous year. So it was kind of nice to go back and kind of fill in those gaps and continue growing in our effort in an area. And so we did that in late December of 2022. And starting in 2023, we've had school tree plantings. We did Polk Elementary, Bowie High School. We did a city park last weekend at Westside Community Park. And then coming up is, and this is where I get to plug in the exciting news, is we're having an Earth Day event on April 22nd. That's a Saturday, April 22nd on Earth Day. And Eco Paso will be hosting the first Earth Day event. And we're going big. We've been seeing the successes of planting larger, more mature trees. And we have planted trees at Escalante Park before. And so this will be, again, a nice follow-up that we can continue to invest these trees into these areas. And so we're looking to plant 50 trees around the park. So that whole morning during the event, which will start at 9 a.m., the Earth Day event will be from 9 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. And we're inviting all eco-sustainable, eco-conscious, sustainably based vendors to be a part of it. We'd like for this to be a gravitational point for these sort of organizations, companies, small businesses, organizations and groups. So we can have this great collaborative effort and inviting the public to enjoy not only Escalante Park, which is a large county park that we're all very familiar with, but also take part in enjoying it by beautifying it with tree planting, and then again learning about other practices that we can further expand our actions in sustainability and even learn a few things from some of the vendors that will be present. We're going to have a variety of activities for the whole family, so it'll be fun. So everyone is welcome. And the best part about it is it will be free to the public. So you can come and enjoy the event, come enjoy the park and all the activities that will be going around the park during that day. And we know Escalante Park's large, so let's fill it up. So this would be a very large open invitation to everyone to inquire interest in our social media about the event and then consider coming on that April 22nd day. And that's not the end of our tree planting efforts.
So let me go back on it
go
real quick. If somebody's interested in participating on the Earth Day event, how would they sign up to participate, or if they want to have I don't know, a table with information or something, or even just participate in the tree planting? How would they go about it?
Sure.
For this specific day?
Yeah, for the April 22nd Earth Day 2023 or El Paso Eco Paso event will be, you can contact me through any of the social media platforms that are convenient for you. You can always email info@ecopaso.org. And then you can ask about the vendor information. I'll forward that and we can have that conversation. We'll be doing a larger rollout here in the next week, but we're getting all this together, we're planning it. So if you're interested and excited, please contact it. We're developing a list of vendors, and then we'll get the details to you about that and how you can be a part of it. And then it would be a good opportunity to also mention we're looking for sponsorship opportunities for this event. So if you'd like to be a sponsor for this event, please contact us via email and we can talk further about that.
Thank you. Just in case people had questions about that. And remember,
Absolutely.
Again, we have all their contact info. So we have their email and their social media accounts up in the description of the video. So it'll be easily accessible for everybody if y'all have any questions.
Thank you for that. And then we will also be doing a tree planting event on April 8th. Details will be out in our April newsletter. So remember to sign up for our newsletter on our website. The newsletter sign-in form is at the bottom of every page. So just scroll down at any page on the website and you can sign up for our newsletter there. And then we're in the planning stages, but we're going to have another tree planting event around the Paso de Norte trail area. So we're finalizing that, but April will have quite a bit of activity and tree planting, and we're looking to continue that effort. And just something that we do is we don't usually do tree plantings in the summers just because the summers are a little hot. But with the large growing season and good weather that El Paso has throughout the year, there's really no bad time to plant a tree, as long as you're personally, if you're going to care for it. But for a lot of these areas where they're like out in park areas, we want to make sure that we give the young tree the best chance possible, because we did unfortunately see some drawbacks from weather. And during that 2021 freeze, the whole state was affected by that. And we did have a few saplings that just didn't make the freeze. So we want to ensure that we're having higher success rate by planting more mature trees. And then we're also going to expand our efforts so we can have more abundance of trees to plant, because we've seen a lot of interest from the community and the public about other areas. And we want to get all those spaces filled with trees if we can. Our largest obstacle has been funding. Like I mentioned before, the One Tree Planted grant award allowed us to do this large undertaking, and we planned it relatively within a short amount of time. So we were very confident in the way we can roll out more of these events. So sponsors, grant opportunities, other ways of funding, either even through like PTA fundraisers or GoFundMe accounts, crowdsource funding to help us get the trees. We would love to collaborate and work with any organizations that would be interested in teaming up to do more tree planting with us.
So on that note, if maybe I'm not an organization, but I'm a regular person and I want to donate, maybe I want to donate a tree or something, like, is that a possibility? If I say like, hey, how can people donate trees or help this initiative? And then a couple more questions on the tree planting. How are the locations selected? Like, can somebody say like, hey, I want to nominate my neighborhood, or I want to nominate this school, this park? How is that process? And then what kind of trees are you planting?
Okay. Yeah, so if on the bottom of go to our website and you go to our initiatives, Million Trees El Paso, go to the bottom of the website, we have an application that you can fill out, you know, to be included in this program. And so we take those when they're like general resident public submissions. We take these application the information from the application, and then we organize it into a way so we can see where the areas are most in need, based on some other data sets that we compare it to. So referencing back to the Riverside area by Border Highway, there's a lot of traffic that goes down there. There's, you know, smog that's seen. So when we chose that area, it was also because it includes that area that had the trail when we initially did our ARP tree planting grant. But to expand off that area, because it is very heavily trafficked in that area, and that'll improve the walkability of the region. We consulted other data sets when the ARP grant was undertaken. From the data they helped us acquire, that area had a larger population of 50 plus, I guess you could say, age demographic. And so that's where that grant was, its goals were is to provide walkability and beautification of neighborhoods where elderly residents could easily walk to a park or trail in that area. Again, because it's adjacent to the Paso del Norte Trail, made it attractive. So we try to look at this data. So we're pointing our efforts in areas that can make a positive impact. So it's nothing personal. If someone feels that we haven't gotten to their area, we're just really trying to focus on these underserved areas. And that's where the funding comes in. If we can acquire more grants, sponsors, donations, then we can do more of these tree plantings, because we're, you know, as a nonprofit, we're trying to give the most, you know, that we can, the greatest positive impact, and that includes costs. So we try to reduce all the costs in it. It's all volunteer driven. And we have had volunteers that have offered to like lend us their truck, trailer, and those are things that I want to really expand on and maybe have multiple tree planting events done, even done by the neighborhoods themselves. So that way everyone feels they can participate in it, and we can come in and help them with the guides on how to plant a tree properly and all the do's and don'ts, and give recommendations. Because maybe say a neighborhood association wants to ensure that if someone just wants to see a certain type of species in their neighborhood, you know, we would love to be included on that, and then help guide them through that process, and then organize around that. And then so, and then if you're like a larger, you're outside a larger organization than say just an individual, please email us as well as fill out the application, and we would love to talk about what you have in mind, and then see how we can make your proposal or your dream a success. And then, so yeah, a good important part that you brought up was about the tree species. So primarily the program is focused on, yes, improving the tree canopy. Every tree is a good tree, right? I mean, there are invasive species in wild environments that are not necessarily desired, but essentially the more propagation of flora is a benefit to, you know, this equation of air quality and improving that air quality. So, but we do encourage firstly, the propagation of native desert tree species. And then as well as, you know, in addition, because they're desert native, they're more likely to be drought tolerant. And then we also encourage other drought tolerant trees, because there are people who out there who do appreciate these native desert trees and they adore them. And there are others that may not, you know, they're more particular about qualities they want. They, you know, there's nothing wrong with, let's say, evergreens or anything like that, but a lot of the trees that are desert are typically deciduous. Some of them have thorns, some of them have flowers. Some people like the ornamental style of trees where they can shape them, or they just naturally have this appealing globe look. As long as they're drought tolerant, we're very much encouraging of that usage. And then there are people who want specific trees that may not be of this biome. It's like every tropical exotic plant. It requires extra skill in trying to treat it if there is disease, and then just the general care of it. So we generally just try to make the, you know, let nature do its course as is, and having a tree that is already native and drought tolerant will have a higher chance of being successful if neglected. We don't want to neglect our trees. We love our trees. We love all the trees. But for those, let's say, that are planted in a park, you know, if they do not have natural irrigation or recurring irrigation, we want to increase the chances of the tree providing the benefits that, you know, that it's designed to do. And we're totally encouraging of fruit trees too. I mean, I have fruit trees in my house. They do require a lot of attention. And that is also one of the expansions because of new board members that we've brought in, is try to even figure out a way to where we can approach food forests and develop food forests or encourage fruit tree growth in like public areas. But the underlying issue is water and how much water that would be required for not only producing the plant, but the additional care, because when you have flowering trees, you have to be mindful of diseases or, and then the pollination factor. So it includes an expansion and a complex, like a more complex approach to what you want to do. But a tree is the best thing that you could do to help improve the air quality problem here locally.
All right, so now you know if you're all interested in helping in any way with this initiative, or maybe nominating your neighborhood, your school, your city park, you can find that application on their website. So we know you guys are doing a lot of things. A couple other things we found on your website was something about eco brews. Can you tell us about that one? That one sounds exciting.
Sure, I can go over that. So Eco Brews is it started off again in 2020. I joined the board in 2020 and then transitioned to being executive director. So that was one of the ideas that came on when I came involved, and I thought it was a really good way to engage the public. To have this is a good opportunity on this platform to have these conversations so people can learn about us. And having face-to-face conversations in a bar is just a kind of iconic way that great ideas have been spurred. So we wanted to keep that spirit going. We started in 2020. Again, the pandemic forced us to halt our eco brews, but the minute we felt it was safe again, we kicked it off, and we did that in 2022. And so this is our fourth eco brew since that gap and that break. And this one will be our March Eco Brews will be held at Giovanni and Bronson's Bohemian Cafe, so JVB. I'm a big fan of that place, so come have some brews, have some grub, and let's have some conversations. And through those engagements, we're ourselves, board members and myself. We're there. We're just relaxing and enjoying each other's company. We talk about what's upcoming. A big conversation of ours of late has been about the climate charter, and all the news and press and attention that's come to that. But then we also talk about other things about our programs. We reflect on things that we've done, how we can improve them. So that's a good way if you want to come provide feedback, or you have an idea and you want to come pitch it, or like to be involved in that. I think that's something that you can come and engage with us on. And if you want to be a volunteer, there's always an opportunity to go to our website. And then there's a volunteer link there. You can fill in information, contact us directly. Again, email. You can email me on social media, or email me through email platform, or hit me on social media, and we'll contact with you. We're always in need of volunteers, looking for passionate individuals to join our board. And that's a good way for us to get to know you, is at the Eco Brews. We can have a unscripted conversation, hear your ideas, talk to each of the board members, learn about perspectives, opinions, and views on anything. And then we like to just kind of have it as an opportunity point for everyone to congregate who's of like-mindedness and sustainability. Just to kind of be in a room with like-minded people and enjoy company and have natural conversations. And that's always a good thing. And I think every probably great outcome has been started over a pint of beer. So we like to keep that magic alive. And it's just a nice time to unwind. We've had other offerings like our Eco Brunch, where we had like a brunch event to kind of give variety for people who may not be able to because of work, or just they don't prefer bar environments. So that's something we're still open to have more of. In other ways, if you have an idea, please let us know. We're gonna have a lot of ideas thrown around on these tables, so it's a good opportunity to help be part of that. And then we have other events that we've literally spurred up from conversations in these things, and a lot of them will be coming out in this April. Something I should have mentioned when we were talking about the Million Trees El Paso is that we'll be having an event on April 2nd. I'm getting ahead of myself. It was going to be released in the newsletter, but a good time to announce now. at Keystone Heritage Park, there's going to be a information session about the Million Trees El Paso program. And we're going to have a guest speaker, and it's going to be Mike from High Desert Plants, and also known around the Keystone Heritage Park. So he'll be our guest speaker, giving us his expert knowledge on native and drought tolerant trees. And then we'll also be having a small segment about air layering and tree propagation with our own board member, Fernanda Luga. So she's going to give that information session, and we'll be there so you can learn more about us. And then we'll also be advertising and talking about our Earth Day event. So that's a good time. If you wanted to learn more about what we're doing there and be a vendor or ask questions, please meet us there. And then we'll also be having another event on April 11th, and that'll be in the newsletter. And that's going to be about a climate justice teach-in. So these will be great events for you to come and meet us, learn about what we're doing. And again, we're expanding from our normal activities. We're stimulating more conversations, more public events, trying to keep not only the hype alive as we lead up to Earth Day, but to keep these sort of conversations going to help people find their way and modifying or rectifying their practices in everyday life towards a more sustainable endpoint.
Yeah, so lots of things going on, lots of initiatives, lots of events coming up. April is usually a busy month just because of Earth Day. So there's lots of things going on. Great to hear about Keystone. We've had Mike, he's been an expert, a guest expert here on this series. I want to say it was in the spring last year. So if y'all want to learn all about rainwater harvesting, that's the video he did for us. So it should be on our list of different videos, so you can check it out there, or you can just go out there at Keystone on April 2nd and ask them directly. I did have a comment here from Fernanda Lugo, since you mentioned her already. She said not to forget about yoga.
Oh, yes. And again, more of a reason to sign up in our newsletter. We're developing these ideas, and we'll be having a yoga series to be inclusive, because you can't be out there trying to do the good work of trying to change the world for the better if you're not taking care of your own well-being and health. And Fernanda, being one of our new board members, has brought that into one of our focus points. Is well-being and health is also a very core important part of approaching sustainability.
Absolutely. So you mentioned a little bit about volunteers. If they want to sign up or volunteer with you guys, go to the website and apply there. Is there a process? I know with us, with state parks, we have a little bit of a lengthy process. So it takes a couple of weeks because we have to do background checks and then go through applications and volunteer interviews. Is there something similar that you guys have, or are you guys more like easygoing on that aspect?
We're pretty easygoing. I've done a lot of volunteer work in my experience and of recent years. So I understand the demands it is to be a volunteer. So if you have free time, an idea, anything that you want to offer up to help benefit and how we're going to achieve our goals, we would love to have you as a volunteer, if it's for a day. We'll be looking for volunteers to help us with the Earth Day event. So if you'd like to volunteer on that, we would love to, just get in contact with me, email, social media, any way that's comfortable for you. We can do interviews and meetups. I can talk at length about anything you need more information on or learn more about what you're offering. So we were very, lax in volunteer, opportunities are there. So just please reach out, and we'd love to have you. One of the things I've been trying to do during these tree planting events is develop tree team leads. So we do get some people that are very experienced in tree planting, and we want to have them stand out in a way that can be helpful for the other teams that are planting trees. So we've had some people who have a expert background in tree planting and that knowledge, and we want them to be, we want them to stand out and be available. Just for general questions that, say for a volunteer that's planting a tree might have. So we're looking for those kind of points for volunteers in other areas too. So if, you want to volunteer your time, provide some opinions or viewpoints, and you're a key expert in solar or renewable energy, that's another way to volunteer. So there's a lot of ways to volunteer. It doesn't just have to be physically showing up That is a very, very desired part. Being a part of the organization and helping us execute the events is always a great help. But there's content creation that can just be even giving us heads up on news and updates around the community. I try to do the social media management as well as try to scroll and see what other organizations are doing, what events. And, if you've come across something that you feel that we've missed, or you feel it may have been of interest to us, please forward it to us, email, social media. I would love to hear about those because that's my goal, to get out there, to be more visible so we can have these conversations throughout the year so people, again, can consider making those modifications to their behaviors and approach a sustainable endpoint. So we have a lot of other opportunities coming up. There's the conference as well. So, we're welcoming the students. There's no age limit. If you're able and willing, then we'd love to have you. Some things, might have some restrictions, right? Tree planting, it's not for everybody. There's some people that might not be physically able to do the test, and that's completely fine. We have other opportunities, and we would love to use your passions to help our cause and have you be a part of this organization. And again, a lot of our board members were volunteers. They just showed up to events and they liked what they saw, and we recognized their passion and we approached them about being a board member. If you feel that your passions would be a good complement to our approach to our goals, then please email, get us on social media and apply to be a board member. Because those are our super volunteers, right? I started off as a volunteer, then a board member, and then now I'm executive director. But I found my passions were very useful in this realm, and that was something that really drove me to take on this role. So that sort of empowerment is available by volunteering in an organization like ours.
Yeah, and I think I mentioned this before, and we had a Green Hope last month for As the Expert, and I think that's one of the things we mentioned. Sometimes we feel like, what difference am I making? Like, or am I even making a difference? And I feel like sometimes if you're in a different field, you're like, well, what difference do I make into the environment or sustainability? And you guys showing that there's a wide variety of people on your board, people of your organization from all kinds of different fields or careers. It's like, it does matter. Like, you don't have to be only ecology or environmental related. Like, it doesn't matter what your field is, it doesn't matter what your expertise, there's always a way in which you can help and be involved. So yeah, and you have us fighting our nails on your events. So everybody, if you're watching us, go to their website, sign up for their newsletters. If you want to find out what's coming up, lots of exciting events and opportunities, not only to learn about what they're doing, to learn about our area, but also to volunteer and be part of something that is going to make a difference.
Yeah, and I want to mention too, just in brief, we do have a lot of initiatives and programs. But just because we're talking about volunteering, and I think maybe this would be a good time if anybody's listening. Those are our main programs that I've talked about at the conference, Million Trees El Paso. But there's other involvement that we had from volunteers that were of great impact, and that was volunteers that stepped up to be interveners in the Paso Electric's rate case a few years back. So that kind of volunteerism is also very impactful. We're very much a spoken advocate for renewable energy and clean energy adoption. So, a connection there can be if you're, concerned about permitting for, solar projects and you have a viewpoint on that, or you are an expert, a professional in that industry, that's a way to get involved. One of our, not only is through these community actions, but also through policy action. And so that's something I want to expand in, is going to the agencies through the state and even the federal level, the EPA, because we've seen a change in attention here. And I'm slightly tangent to the, the environmental injustice kind of part of it. We have a very polluted borderland region, air quality is poor. It's these sort of callings that brought me to this organization and to others. So those are things that, if you find yourself a passion and you can help us in volunteering in that way, organizing efforts, being present, giving testimonials, emails and elected officials, speaking publicly during comment periods. Those are all very, very important. And then, we have an issue that's coming up about transportation and the I-10 expansion. So we'll be helping and assisting the local groups about awareness about the air quality issue and how this might impact that for better or worse. And then, you've seen even in the previous legislature, the Texas legislature try to take a swing at the electrification of transportation. So these other issues that we have, things about the electric utility, rate cases, the way the electric utility is approaching renewable energy adoption, and then simply even that educating, being a presenter about sustainable practices and methods to schools, whether they be elementary to college level classes, all sorts of opportunities to be engaging. The limitation is just what you're willing to do. If you have a conversation, contact me. We'll have a discussion. I got many ideas, and I would love to be a part of hyping you up into being engaged in this realm, so we can make that impact faster and sooner.
Yeah. So now if you have questions, if you have an interest on something that they might be doing, just reach out to them, and even to have those conversations to say like, hey, I have this idea. What do you think? Just to get those opinions and get that conversation started. It might not be something that will happen like overnight, but just getting those conversations, getting that learning about the topic, I think it's important. And it's the way to start all these great things and initiatives that you're all doing. So I don't have any more questions from our comment section, but remember, you can always send your questions even if our video is done. I'll be monitoring those and trying to answer as many as I can. If not, I'll pass them to Joshua, see if he can have answers for us. Website, emails, and social media up in the description of the video. I'll be adding some of the upcoming events there, but also the link to the website so you can check all of their events there. Is there anything, any other events or anything else coming up that you want to tell us before we go?
I mean, nothing new coming up. We're developing these events like 2 weeks in advance. So again, staying on our newsletter is the best way. When we have a nice grouping of events, we'll announce it via newsletter. And then our social medias, that's usually when we're confident that an event's going down. We post it on the socials, so that's a quick way to keep in reference with us. And then, the big one we're really hoping to bring the public in and have a really great showing is our Earth Day event on Saturday, April 22nd. And that's going to be from 9 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. And it's free to the public. This will be a orbiting point for a lot of sustainable organizations, programs, small businesses. So we want to have this as a good opportunity to bring everybody, learn about sustainability and find out what's appealing for you. And then any questions you have, again, reach out to me via email, social media, or find me at one of the events, and I'd love to have a conversation with you. And thank you very much for having us on this Ask the Expert series.
Of course, we're excited you were able to join us for today and sharing what great things you guys are doing for our community and the sustainability realm here. But yeah, again, if you all have any questions, do you want to learn more, go to their website. It's a really good website, super easy to navigate, lots of information there. And then you can always reach out to them or reach out to me and I can send you the contact if you have any other questions or you want to get just a contact with them to maybe collaborate or do something. I'll be putting some of the events up, some of the dates on the description, so it's also easy to find. But again, thank you all so much for joining us. Thank you, Joshua, for taking the time and telling us all about Eco El Paso and the great things you guys are doing, all your initiatives. And we'll see you all next month for another Ask the Expert. So stay tuned because we'll be announcing who our guest is going to be here in the next couple of weeks.
Thank you.